Have you ever wished you had like a genuine shortcut, to unlock the secrets of peak performance and well-being straight from the people who actually live it every single day?
Yeah, the real deal.
Exactly. You're probably always looking for those transformative nuggets of knowledge, the things that can accelerate your understanding.
We all are, I think.
Right. And this deep dive, well, it's designed to be exactly that for you.
Okay.
Today, we're embarking on an exploration of some really impactful insights,
Sounds good.
all pulled from this one remarkable collection. Tools of Titans, the tactics, routines, and habits of billionaires, icons, and world-class performers.
That's a hefty title. It's packed with stuff, though.
Totally. Think of it like a comprehensive playbook. It's got strategies across health, mindset, business, creativity from some seriously impressive people.
Yeah, the lineup is incredible.
So our mission today is basically to distill the most important bits, surprising facts, the actionable wisdom from these pages.
Right, cut through the noise.
Exactly. We want you to walk away quickly, feeling well-informed about what really drives exceptional individuals.
Giving you a fast track.
Precisely. A fast track to understanding how world's best actually operate.
Okay, let's do it.
So let's jump right in. Often, we have this belief, don't we, that to achieve anything truly great, you kind of have to do it alone.
Yeah, that lone wolf idea.
Right.
Yeah.
But the source material, it makes it incredibly clear. That's just not the case. It actually says, odds are you can't either. We all need fuel.
That's fascinating the way it's put. The book really emphasizes needing assistance, advice, inspiration from others. It says without that external fuel, the gears of our mind just grind to a halt.
Wow.
Yeah. And the author mentions how blessed he felt to find mentors and idols at every step. It's not about weakness at all.
No, it's strategic.
Exactly. Strategic leverage.
It really makes you think. I mean, look at the examples they cite. Figures like Joe Weider, Nelson Mandela.
Right. Gorbachev, Muhammad Ali.
Andy Warhol, George H.W. Bush. It's such a diverse group. But the common thread is this deliberate act of seeking wisdom. It's highlighted again and again as pouring fuel on my fire.
It's foundational, not just a nice to have.
Totally. Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still in that mindset zone.
Okay.
One of the most impactful rules of thumb, I thought, came from Derek Sivers. His mantra, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Oh, yeah, that one's powerful. A great filter, isn't it?
It really is.
Sivers developed it after realizing that saying yes to too many, just okay things.
Yeah, mediocre things.
Right, it just fills up your time and energy, leaves no room for the big stuff. It even led him pretty radically to take an indefinite startup vacation back in 2015, just to clear the decks.
Wow, an indefinite one.
Yeah, shows how seriously he took it.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. This hell yes idea connects to a broader concept.
Which is?
Avoiding over-maximization, chasing diminishing returns.
Right, like putting in massive effort for tiny gains.
Yeah. Exactly. There's an anecdote in the book about running, realizing that like 93-something% of my huffing and puffing was only for an extra 2 minutes.
That's so relatable. Why stress yourself out for that?
Right.
It raises that crucial question, why push so hard for so little extra? The insight is to recognize that internal arc feeling.
Yeah, that feeling of being stretched thin.
Exactly. Treat it like physical pain. It's a signal. The advice is basically stop before things get super stressful.
Recognize that pushing past a certain point just isn't worth the effort.
Precisely. Work smarter, not just harder.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another powerful idea. This one's about fear.
Okay.
The idea that what we most fear doing is usually what we most need to do.
The resistance points the way.
Exactly. And the source introduces this tool called fear setting.
Right, drawing on Seneca, ancient wisdom there. It's about defining your nightmare, isn't it? Like really spelling out the absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah, get it specific.
Because when you clarify that vague unease, that anxiety, you often realize it's just, what did it say, mere panty pinches in life.
Yeah, not fatal.
Not fatal at all. The author even walks through his own process thinking about worst case financial scenarios.
Like temporary bartending or selling furniture?
Yeah, exactly. Having a concrete plan, even for the worst case, makes the fear shrink.
It's amazing how much power undefined fear has. And Tony Robbins connects this to the quality of your questions.
Right. Quality of life depends on quality of questions.
Instead of focusing on negativity, which he says comes from being too self-focused.
Yeah, that internal spiral.
We can consciously shift our priorities by changing our questions.
Absolutely. Our brain fundamentally is running this ancient old survival software.
Yeah.
And suffering often comes from these ingrained patterns, thinking about loss, less, never. But if you change the questions you ask yourself, you change your focus. You're basically redirecting that old software towards growth, towards solutions.
Not just problems and scarcity, it's like a cognitive hack.
Totally. A real hack.
Okay, building on that theme, embracing your uniqueness. There's this bold advice. Copyright your faults.
Huh. I love that phrasing. What does it actually mean in practice?
Well, it's about radically owning what you do, even the stuff that seems like an imperfection.
Okay, give me an example.
The book talks about a radio host who'd yell so loud the audio meter went into the red.
Right, technically a flaw.
Technically. But instead of fixing it, he just declared, "That's my style."
Okay.
He basically said, "I meant to do that, and if you do it, you're imitating me."
Wow, so turning a bug into a feature, a signature.
Exactly. Transforming a perceived flaw into something authentic that makes you stand out.
That takes confidence.
Definitely. And speaking of embracing what seems like a weakness, or maybe a lack of understanding, Louis Fanon.
The Cappy TCHA guy.
Yeah, him. He learned the value of "I don't understand" from his PhD advisor.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, his advisor apparently had this habit of just repeatedly saying, "I don't understand what you're saying."
Okay. That could be demoralizing.
You'd think. But it wasn't a criticism. It was a technique
A technique for what?
to force deeper clarity. Lewis realized that often he was being unclear because he didn't fully understand it himself yet.
Ah, so the advisor's confusion mirrored his own lack of deep understanding.
Exactly. It wasn't about the advisor. It was about pushing him to think deeply about things, to really grasp concepts before trying to explain them.
That's a powerful teaching method, vital for innovation.
Totally. And one last point on authenticity. Andrew Zimmern from Bizarre Foods,
Oh, yeah. Great show.
he shared this lesson from his pilot episode. The most important thing is to be you, not your inner actor.
What did he mean by that?
Well, he realized early on there was this temptation to, mock foreign cultures for easy laughs.
Right, the cheap shot.
But he consciously chose to be respectful, to be genuine instead.
And that became his brand, really. His respectfulness.
Exactly. He said, "It turned out to be the best decision I ever made." People praised his respect, and his deeper insight was fascinating. It is so much less work just to be yourself.
Authenticity isn't just ethical, it's efficient. I like that.
Right. Okay, so we've hit mindset pretty hard. Let's shift focus now to the physical side,
Okay, optimizing the body.
starting with strength. There's Christopher Summer, former U.S. national team gymnastics coach.
Ah, yes. Gymnastics strength training, GST.
Exactly. Known for building some incredibly strong athletes. And he meticulously took notes, like for 40 years.
Wow, 40 years of notes, that's dedication. The GST system is built on that foundation.
And the results seem pretty incredible. The source mentions Pavel's father,
Oh, the deadlift story.
taking up deadlifts in his 70s, and a few years later, pulling over 400 pounds without a belt.
Yeah, it total blows up that idea that you're ever too old to get seriously strong.
Absolutely. Makes you rethink your own limits.
Definitely.
Okay, what about endurance? There's Rob Lawrence's breathing ladder.
Right, for those exercises that just leave you totally gassed.
Yeah, we've all been there. What's the strategy?
Well, the core idea is simple but clever. You predetermine a specific limited number of breaths you're allowed to take between sets.
Okay, so you're restricting your rest.
In terms of breaths, yeah. And it forces you to slow your breathing down, to control it.
Okay.
This stops you from overtaxing your nervous system. And the amazing part, it improves endurance even before the usual biochemical changes happen.
Wow, so it's like training your respiratory system efficiency directly.
Exactly. A huge takeaway for anyone wanting to push their limits.
Very cool. Okay, let's dive into some dietary stuff and health markers now. This gets fascinating.
Always a hot topic.
The book talks about Dom and his experiences with fasting and keto.
Right, the fasting comparison.
Yeah, he did a 10-day fast and lost 0 muscle mass.
Which was a huge contrast to a previous 7-day fast where he lost, 12 pounds of muscle?
Yeah, significant loss. So what was the difference?
Well, the key things were allowing trace amounts of BCAAs, branched-chain amino acids.
Right, for muscle support.
And consuming about 300-500 calories of pure fat. This helped him get into ketosis quickly and seemed to spare the muscle.
Interesting. And he's doing research, too?
Yeah, some really cutting-edge stuff. Animal studies, mind you, but still intriguing.
Yep.
Showing like a 50% increase in survival in cancerous rats when BCAAs were added to a keto diet.
Wow.
And also improved survival in mice with aggressive brain cancer using keto plus hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Hyperbaric oxygen, like high-pressure oxygen.
Exactly. Specifically 2.5 ATA for 60 minutes. Again, early days animal models, but points towards potential future therapies.
Definitely food for thought. Now, for vegetarians listening who might be keto curious, Dom had a specific shake recommendation.
He did. It was, let me see, MRM Veggie Elite Protein, the chocolate mocha flavor,
Okay.
mixed with coconut milk, half an avocado, and C8 MCT oil.
C8 MCT, that
Yeah.
specific type.
Yeah, often used for quick energy on keto. The whole shake aims for about 70% fat calories, 20% protein, 10% carbs. Very keto-specific macros.
Got it. Useful for those exploring that path.
And this whole discussion, it leads to another interesting point the book makes about cholesterol.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, it suggests that many physicians are kind of indoctrinated to just spot high cholesterol and treat the number.
Right, lower the number.
Rather than fully understanding its purpose in the body, asking, what does cholesterol actually do?
Ah, like Feynman's point about knowing the name versus understanding.
Exactly. It's a crucial distinction. We need to understand the why behind the numbers.
That really resonates. Okay, so sticking with health markers, the source highlights two most underrated health tests,
The reactive insulin test.
sometimes called an OGTT, oral glucose tolerance test.
Right. And the other one is HbA1c.
HbA1c, what does that tell you?
It gives you your average blood sugar over the last 3 months or so. It's a really powerful look at your metabolic health over time. And the book makes this striking observation. You age at the rate you produce insulin.
Wow, that's a heavy statement.
It is, but then it offers a fascinating practical tip.
Which is?
Supplemental magnesium. Consuming supplemental magnesium is apparently the fastest way to drop that value, the HbA1c value.
Really? Magnesium?
Yeah, it's called one of the best anti-aging minerals. Simple, but potentially profound.
Definitely something to look into.
Yeah.
And one more metabolic hack. The modern-day grail, as the author puts it.
Kevin Rose and a carbose.
Right. Just 25 milligram, a quarter of a pill, taken with food, helped keep blood sugar stable even after a massive carb load. Beer, glazed pork chop, cornbread, gnocchi.
Yeah, quite the test meal. It's a very specific example, and obviously a carbose is a prescription drug, so talk to your doctor.
Of course.
But it shows the level of biohacking and experimentation happening.
For sure. Okay, let's shift from diet to recovery tools.
Essential for performance.
Two tools really stood out. The rumble roller.
The foam roller meets monster truck tire. Great description.
Huh.
And the bed of needles.
Basically an acupressure mat, like the Nayoya mat mentioned.
Covered with cleat spikes. Sounds intense.
It does, but it was recommended by a Cirque du Soleil performer, someone doing one-armed handstands.
Okay, that's a serious endorsement.
Right. And the author found it was the only thing that helped him recover from a lat tear.
Just 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, performing miracles for his back pain. Simple tool, big results.
Interesting. And then there's cold exposure.
Ah, yes. Cold is a great purifying force.
Wim Hof, Laird Hamilton, Tony Robbins. Lots of top performers use it.
Absolutely. The benefits listed are pretty compelling. Better immune function, increased fat loss,
How does it help fat loss?
partly by increasing adiponectin, a hormone involved in regulating glucose levels and fatty acid breakdown,
Okay.
and maybe most noticeably for many people, a dramatically elevated mood. There's even that historical note about Van Gogh being prescribed cold baths in a psychiatric ward.
An intuitive understanding, perhaps. Maybe. But the key takeaway is how many high achievers use this uncomfortable practice for real gains.
Definitely a theme. Okay, let's transition to daily rituals now. Winning the day.
Crucial for consistency.
The book highlights 5 morning rituals that help me win the day.
Right, the goal being hit 3 out of 5.
Yeah, hit 3, win the morning, win the day. Simple framework.
So what are they?
Okay, first, meditate. 10-20 minutes. And apparently over 80% of the people profiled have a daily mindfulness practice.
That's a huge percentage. Speaks volumes.
Right. Second, do 5 to 10 reps of something physical. Takes less than a minute. Just get moving.
Simple, low barrier.
Third, prepare titanium tea.
Yes, the special blend. Pure Dragonwell green tea.
Turmeric and ginger shadings too, aimed at cognition and fat loss.
These aren't just random habits, they're deliberate high-leverage actions.
Exactly. Designed to set the tone.
What about evenings?
Good point. Peter Attia has a ritual, reviewing his 3 wins of the day before bed.
Like a gratitude practice or journal review.
Yeah. Ending the day on a positive, reflective note.
And connecting all this back to the bigger picture, Peter Diamandis has that quote about getting out of funks.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
You have to find out what you need to be doing on this planet, why you were put here, and what wakes you up.
Find your purpose.
Exactly. He basically says if you haven't connected with that deeper purpose, forget anything I've said.
Wow. It underscores that all these tools and tactics, they need a foundation.
The underlying why is what sustains people.
Absolutely. Okay, speaking of exceptional people, let's move into the art of impact. Business, creativity.
All right.
This one always gets me. How did Arnold Schwarzenegger make millions before becoming a huge movie star?
Right. It wasn't acting money.
No way.
He deliberately set himself up so he didn't need the movie money to live.
Smart. So how do you do it?
Real estate. He invested smartly during the high inflation of the 70s.
Okay.
He talks about buying a building for, say, $500, putting down only $100.
Yeah.
Exactly. And with inflation, it'd be worth $800K within a year. That's a 300% return on his initial investment.
Wow.
He became a millionaire from real estate before hitting it big with films like Conan.
Incredible foresight, diversification.
Totally. Then there's Ramit Sethi, built a huge business from a personal finance blog.
Right. And his mantra.
My network is my net worth.
Interesting reframing.
Yeah. He doesn't just obsess over selling, blog posts or courses.
Yeah.
Instead, he uses his network, his contacts, to find what he calls excellent non-content opportunities.
Like what?
Early stage tech investing. He found Shopify through Twitter, invested in Duolingo's first round via social media recommendations.
Wow. So it raises that question for you, the listener. Are you focusing on the right metrics? Is it just what you create, or is it who you know and how you leverage those connections?
That's a massive takeaway. Really shifts the perspective.
Totally. And sticking with unexpected success, the CD Baby private jet email story.
Oh, that's a classic. Such a great example. Right.
A silly email, basically.
Just a fun, quirky order confirmation email. But people loved it.
Loved it so much it generated, over 20,000 Google results for the phrase?
Yeah, and created thousands of new customers just through word of mouth. People forwarded it, talked about it.
It just shows the power of being memorable, personal, something different.
Absolutely. Defies conventional marketing wisdom. Sometimes quirky wins.
And it ties in nicely with Chris Anderson's long tail idea.
Right. How does that connect?
Well, the long tail is about the niche stuff, right?
Yeah, the obscure items, not just the best sellers.
Early companies like eBay, Amazon, Netflix, they realized the total sales of all the obscure stuff could actually equal or exceed the sales of the few big hits.
Mind-blowing at the time.
Totally. And that insight led them to invent recommendation engines.
To channel attention towards those niche items, to connect people with the long tail.
Exactly. Change the game for discovery and distribution.
Very cool connection.
Now, something more practical, maybe? Checklists.
Yes. Both Ramit Sethi and the author are apparently obsessed with checklists.
Advocating for Atul Gawande's book, The Checklist Manifesto.
Right. But how do checklists apply outside, say, surgery or flying a plane?
Well, they're crucial for systematizing business processes.
Okay.
Especially in startups where things can get chaotic.
Okay, makes sense. Bringing order.
The book talks about how checklists, maybe organized in software like Basecamp, can literally save a startup.
How so?
By making sure critical steps aren't missed, preventing errors, ensuring consistency.
And freeing up mental energy for the harder problem.
Exactly. Systematize the routine stuff.
Good advice.
Now, what if you're stuck creatively? No ideas.
Happens to everyone.
There's this counterintuitive advice. If you can't get 10 good ideas, get 20 ideas.
Get more ideas, even bad ones.
Yeah. It encourages you to drop your standards, go nuts, even into bad idea territory.
Like the example, cut off both feet. Clearly a bad idea.
Exactly. Just illustrative. But the process of uninhibited brainstorming, without judging, that's where breakthroughs happen. It led the author to big ideas, like take an indefinite startup vacation.
So quantity can lead to quality. Don't censor yourself early on.
Precisely. Let it flow.
I like that. Very freeing.
So after all this striving,
Yeah.
what does success even mean? Casey Neistat shares his grandmother's definition.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
Well, his grandmother tap danced from age 6 until the day before she died at 92.
Wow. That's dedication.
Right. And for her, success wasn't measured by how much time you spend doing what you love,
Okay.
but rather how little time you spend doing what you hate.
Oh, that's different. Powerful. Minimizing friction, maximizing joy.
Exactly. A really interesting perspective on a successful life.
Definitely makes you think.
And speaking of finding joy and creativity, Jon Favreau, filmmaker, chef,
Great movie.
he apparently got the core idea for it during a meditation session.
Really? During meditation?
Yeah, it just highlights how slowing down, creating that mental space, can actually be incredibly productive for creativity. He scribbled down like 8 pages of ideas right after and said that one session did 80% of the heavy lifting for the film's core.
Incredible. Meditation as an idea generator.
Yeah. And sticking with Favreau, his approach to getting the Sin City rights from Frank Miller.
Oh, Miller was famously skeptical of Hollywood, or didn't trust them.
Exactly. So how did Favreau win him over?
He didn't just pitch, he showed. He actually made a test film.
A full test film
Yeah.
based on Miller's graphic novels.
Yeah, complete with actors, effects, music, the works.
Wow.
And he offered it to Miller as just a short film if Miller didn't like it. And crucially, he said, "You'll be there. You'll direct with me."
Building trust through collaboration and demonstration.
Exactly. He bypassed all the talk and just showed his vision and respect for the source material. Masterclass in building trust.
Amazing story. Okay.
Yeah.
One final point for anyone thinking of starting something big, a venture, a major goal. The book poses this question. Is this an itch or is it burning?
An itch versus a burn. What's the distinction?
Well, if it's just an itch, like a passing interest, a mild desire, the source suggests it's probably not enough fuel to get you through the hard times.
Right, the inevitable obstacles.
It needs to be a burn, a consuming passion where failure was never an option.
Like Cortez burning the boats. No retreat.
Exactly, that analogy, that level of commitment, that burn is often what separates the ventures that succeed from those that just fizzle out.
That's a powerful filter for deciding what to pursue.
Definitely. Wow, okay, so we have covered a ton of ground today.
We really have. From mindset and wisdom.
To optimizing the body, health hacks, recovery.
And then innovation in business and creativity. Finding your why.
You, listening, now have this curated collection of actionable nuggets direct from some seriously impressive people.
Yeah, this deep dive was really custom tailored for you, giving you that clarity, those impactful details.
Helping you absorb it quickly, thoroughly, without having to read the whole massive book yourself, maybe.
Hopefully saving you some time while getting the core ideas.
Exactly. So as you go about your week, maybe mull this over. A final provocative thought, straight from the source material.
Okay, let's hear it.
At the end of life, you can let a lot of the rules that govern our daily lives fly out the window because you realize that we're walking around in systems in society, and much of what consumes most of our days is not some natural order. We're all navigating some superstructure that we humans created.
Makes you pause.
Right. So the question for you is, what rules are you maybe blindly following? Rules born out of habit or perceived necessity that are actually just constructs.
Things we just assume have to be that way.
Exactly. And what's the absolute worst that could really happen if you dared to redefine some of them for yourself?
Like doing that fear-setting exercise on societal rules.
Precisely. Dig into those fears. You'll often find the mental monsters are just, well, harmless scarecrows.